Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at strategic metals as a physical asset. And with me today is the managing director of a company at the forefront of this sector, Matthias Rueth from Frankfurt in Germany. And I've also been joined by Jens Weidenbach, who's a sales partner at Tradium. And just to let you know, Jens introduced me to the company. He's an old friend of mine, used to be a client in the old days. So that's how I've gotten to know about Tradium. So Matthias, thank you for coming on the channel and welcome. And maybe you could tell us a little more about your company.
Yes, no, thanks a lot for inviting us to your channel, and maybe just a quick introduction about our main activities and the background. This means Tradium is now founded in the year 99, so almost 25 years in a few months. And before this, I worked in the same field as an employee for Degussa, the former Degussa, a very big German producer of chemicals, pharmaceutical products, and metals. And there I did roughly the same. And then in 99, I started with Tradium and mainly focused on industrial customers. That's what we are still doing till today. But the last years, step by step, the interest of private customers increased. So the first private customers were employees of our industrial customers contacting us and, hey, you have a bonded warehouse. This means we can buy duty-free and without VAT. And we know the products, we know the perspective of these products, we know your products. So we want to buy it on a private basis. So that's started now, meanwhile, 13 years ago, roughly. And of course, in these years, we had some up and downs, like in almost every market. This means, of course, the whole business, it's a kind of speculation. We point this out every time. But on the other hand, you can say the raw materials for the several applications are very, very limited available. The demand is growing quite fast, and recycling is not a big topic in this field. And even if there is some recycling, the growing demand is much more than the material which comes out of the recycling. We just are facing the situation that the Chinese are putting some export rules or changing the rules. The Chinese producers have to ask for an export license to ship the materials outside China. So at the moment, the whole situation is really a little bit difficult. And it shows the world how limited the market is and how difficult the situation is, because besides China, there's almost no further market player. Russia, but Russia at the moment is also a difficult source, and the rest of the world is certainly in urgent need of these raw materials. Of course, in Far East, it's a lot of production, and maybe the most important part, but also other countries like, for example, the US, they took back a lot of production activities inside the country. So, and beside this, there's also to mention that although China has no real demand or no real need of putting more material or putting stockpiles, it's the only country, more or less, who is doing it and is storing all kinds of rare earths and minor metals in very big volumes. So for our opinion, if they do it, although they don't have to do it in big scale, then it can't be such a bad idea if we do it in a smaller scale. So anyhow, the interest is growing. The private customers like the idea, and I think we can answer every question. We have a lot of documentation. We have a lot of information. So everybody who is interested in it is most welcome to contact us.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've noticed is that whenever you talk about these strategic metals, people usually just mention rare earths, but there's also technology metals. Maybe you could go over these metals. You don't have to go through all of them, because I know some of them. I think recently China put some limits on them. Is it germanium and some others? But
germanium and gallium, that's the
yeah,
actual problem, yeah.
yeah. So maybe go through what happens, like what the difference are in which industries they're used for. And the thing is, the reason I'm doing this here for the channel is because a lot of my viewers, like me, they view hard assets as a good alternative. I know, like you said, they can be highly speculative. So maybe you could tell us also what kind of weighting uh, people should think about. Of course, I'm not of the view of some people like in the Bitcoin world that advise people to take a mortgage out to put all their money into Bitcoin. So maybe you could go over a little bit about how your private clients uh, use your company, and maybe also even eventually talk about storage, because it's very different from precious metals, right?
Well, yeah, it's different because the volume is more. This means if you have a box of with a value of 20,000-30,000 euros, that's maybe 100 times bigger than if you take a gold bar. To talk a little bit about the applications, it's a quick example is that everything in the modern life, yeah, if it's a smartphone, if it's computer, if it's the solar industry, windcraft industry, all the green energies, whatever you take, every application is in urgent need of these raw materials. And as I said, the demand is growing, and it's compared with others, like for example with gold, much more real industrial usage. For example, gold, certainly a very interesting product. We are also offering it, of course, but just to point out the relation, this means everybody thinks gold is a very rare product, which is true, yeah. But if you compare it to our products, it's not that rare, because the total production per year is roughly 3,500 metric tons. And gallium, for example, is 1,000 metric tons, indium 1,000 metric tons, germanium 150 metric tons. So just or hafnium, also very interesting product, is somewhere 40 to 50 metric tons. So most of the raw materials we are selling also to privates, and with a lot of growing demand from the industry, is a lot more limited available, or much rarer much more rare than for example, gold. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I saw a story actually, you're probably aware of it, from March last year, and it talks about your company, that you were able to supply critical raw materials despite shortages to the UK, because of the lockdowns and the supply chain problems, and also because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So could you tell the viewers why you're in such a position, how you've been able to be able to supply these rare earths?
Well, we have,
Metals.
beside the fact that we are acting as agent for many Chinese producers For example, for the gallium, we are acting as agents since more than 20 years for the biggest, or meanwhile, biggest Chinese producer called Beijing Jia. Beside this, all the raw materials we are selling to private customers is helping us, bringing us in the position because we are moving their materials. This means we take care that the material is not getting too old. So we have the plan that the material don't get older than 5, 6, 7 years. So we sell out old material, take in new material, and as it's not so super important for us that the aspect of delivery time, we can prompt send out material, and if we get it back from our partners, from our producers, 4, 5, 6 weeks later, or even if it's 2 or 3 months, that's no problem. But it helps us to bring us in a very strong position with the end users, with the real industrial users. And so our position developed in a very strong, or to a very strong level the last years. And this is also, of course, important to the private customers because for them, it's also important to have the outlet industry. And the stronger our position is, the better is their position in regard to liquidating the materials one day.
Yeah, and in terms of the private clients, and this is not financial advice, by the way, for the viewers. This is just talking about it. So, what kind of strategy would you be doing if you're a private client? And let's say if you have €100 of investments, what kind of percentage do you think your private clients put into the strategic metals?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm always talking about speculation.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think it's not that much speculation as I'm talking or as I'm describing it, because the speculation is relatively limited if you consider that the raw materials are very limited available and the demand is growing very fast. So I think the idea can't be that bad. But on the other hand, sometimes there are surprises. And including my years as an employee, I'm in this business for much more than 30 years meanwhile. And I was surprised many times. So my advice to every interested customer, start in a small scale, limited amount, which you can park, let's say, for some years, because it's certainly not an activity or a business where you can buy today and sell in 3 months. Makes no sense, for sure. So the time frame should be somewhere between 5 and 10 years, maybe. And then I'm convinced that the idea will be good. Yeah, because beside today's situation of the market, we have to consider that in so many countries like China itself, or others like India or South America, whatever, so many persons are still looking for the first smartphone, first computer, first TV, and so on. And of course, this also means a growing demand. Or if you look to the car industry, every new car is full of displays or LEDs or whatever, or even with the batteries and electronics in the car. Of course, the question if it makes sense or not, but that's another topic. Yeah. But anyhow, the demand is there and the technology is there. And I don't expect that we have to go, or that we will go back, or the market will go back to the former years where there was no head-up display, there was no night vision, there was no navigation. All these applications nobody wants to miss any longer. And although it's just a few grams per car per product, at the end, it's unbelievable big demand. For example, we are supplying the thermometer industry. For example, mercury is forbidden, and one thermometer needs with an alternative alloy, the same specs or same behavior like a mercury. One thermometer needs maximum 1.5 gram per thermometer per piece, but at the end we are supplying several hundred kilogram each month to this industry. Yeah? And this is just an example to all the others where we have the same situation. A smartphone also needs, well, at the end, almost nothing, yeah, because it's just maybe in total 1 gram per smartphone, yeah, I don't know. But if you take millions of it, it's a big demand or a big consumption. So if somebody is interested in it, first of all, I recommend have a close look to the products. We are offering a service on rawmaterials.net where you find all the news every day. We put every day the news on this website, so everybody can follow it for quite a while till he has an idea. Or, of course, we are here also happy to explain, to describe, or to give any information, or to answer every question. But yeah, it's still a quite new field, although we are selling since more than 10 years. Almost nobody knows about this. And at the end of the day, also the private customers who are taking, in addition to the industrial consumption, more material out of the market will also take care that the prices at least will be stable. Yeah? And at the end, you also can sell it in every currency you want. If it's the euro, the dollar, the yen, whatever, a raw material or the value of one product, one raw material will never fall down to zero. A raw material always has a value, and you can sell it out of the warehouse whenever you want, very easy in dollar, euro, whatever.
I see. And what would be the best way if any of the viewers wanted to contact you? Go onto your website?
Yeah, well, there is my personal email address on it, or just at info. And we have packages with all kind of basic information, and that's easy to have a look. And we prefer that the customers or the interested persons have a close look to it, give us all their questions, and then if they are convinced of the idea, then they can start with a limited amount, whatever.
Yeah.
So we are certainly not pushing anybody to buy it. Sometimes I even get the question, hey, you don't want to sell, yeah? But I prefer to be to have a convinced customer who knows really everything about this field than being pushy somehow, and then at the end there are well, there are surprises, yeah.
Yeah, I see. And yeah, the other question I had is about how come, why do you think there's so little awareness of what you're doing? Because it seems like a good opportunity to me.
Yeah, well, everybody knows gold and silver. And for example, everybody who already has gold and silver is immediately convinced that this opportunity is a good chance. Yeah. And it's you need to be a special character that you like it. Yeah. And the advantage of this field is also that you can start with quite limited amounts. For example, buying a house, a flat, whatever, also a good idea, but you need completely other amounts of money to go into such a a stable asset.
Now, see, and your offices, your bonded warehouse, is it where you are, or is it you have different ones in
No,
Germany
it's
and
also
other?
inside Frankfurt.
I see.
It's a bunker from the Second World War. This
Okay.
means the roof has 2.5 meters of concrete, so that's quite stable. The walls are 2 meters thick of concrete, and all kind of alarm systems are in. And as long as the material is inside the warehouse, it's tax-free and no duty on it. And from there, it's easy to liquidate because for us, it's the same if we buy new material from China or if we buy back material from our customers. As we are knowing the quality and everything, it's easy for us to take it back immediately.
What about yeah, so it's in a bonded warehouse, and that's why you don't pay the taxes. What
Yeah.
when you liquidate and if you make a profit, I guess that depends on your jurisdiction where you live.
Well, you mean from the tax point of view?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you make a
there,
big
for example, in every country, it can be different. For example, in Germany, it's completely tax-free after 1 year of keeping it. In the US, as far as I know, there is always a kind of minimum tax. And in other countries, I'm not sure. It's a question for a tax advisor
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
that's right. That's right. So Matthias, thank you very much for your time. And maybe you have some final words to tell the viewers about the business and yeah, maybe also about the geopolitical situation and maybe why uh, we in the West haven't really focused uh, on producing these rare earth metals or strategic metals.
Well, there is one problem for the rest of the world beside China. The raw materials have to be available. This means, beside the fact that, for example, if you mentioned the rare earths, the production facility to produce rare earths is unbelievably expensive, very, very difficult. It's a really high sophisticated production. And for example, in Germany, there were some trials to produce them, yeah? But there are the heavy and the light rare earths. More the heavy, or almost the heavy rare earths are really rare because not every rare earth is rare, so it's a bit tricky. But the Chinese, they can produce from gallium, indium, germanium, everything inside the country, and the rest of the world lost a little bit the contact to it, yeah. So at the moment, for my opinion, mainly Russia and China are in the position to produce them. And of course, there's also some Indian production in Taiwan, in Korea. Also, South America, there was a very limited production. But if you compare it to Russia and China, it's almost nothing. So that's certainly a risk, especially if China and Russia will work together in the future. I can imagine because they put themselves into the position for many periods along many years, and one day we can expect that they will take advantage out of this position they are. And while the rest of the world lost a little bit the control of it, and most of our industrial customers are still handling their business just in time. They give us a call, say, hey, next week we need this or that quantity of material. At the moment, it's working as we have stocks and as the situation is not so super difficult, but this can change. Yeah, I don't want to make the customers afraid. Yeah, but the rest of the world is in a quite poor position, let's say.
Great. Jens, I'd like to
Yeah.
thank you as well for introducing me to Tradium and
Welcome, Mario.
Matthias. And for the viewers, I'm going to put a link to Tradium's website below in the description. And yeah, do a bit of research. And like Matthias said, learn about it before just dipping your toes in the water. Matthias, Jens, thank you very much. And have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Mario.
Thanks a lot. And again, everybody of your customers or viewers is most welcome to give us a call, to send us an email, and I think we can give every information, and the customers or the persons who are interested have all the time to collect information about this relatively new but very, very interesting field.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.